penalty at the 35-yard line. 49ers leading by 23. Humphries putting it up, and it is out of the end zone. And why not? Dion out of the end zone winds up with the football. He gets the game ball.
Dion catches that one in the bullpen.
The 49ers wrap up one of the great seasons in the history of the National Football League as George Seifert wins his second Super Bowl title. The Niners, the first team to win 5. And Steve Young, the first to throw 6 touchdown passes in a Super Bowl game. 49-26.
It's hard to describe the feeling. This all began back in July for these players. It's a year-round job for them, but this is what they all battle for, what they fight for, they go through the pain for. The very top.
A lot more still to come from Miami. We'll be back. The San Francisco 49ers, the Super Bowl champions, leading from start to finish. Steve Young throwing a total of 6 touchdown passes. The first one he threw came early in the game to Jerry Rice, the fastest in Super Bowl history, and the 6th to Jerry Rice with 13:49 to play in the game. He's the MVP. The Niners are 5-time Super Bowl champs and will return to Miami after this.
This is the Ford Explorer postgame report.
It makes all the hard work seem worthwhile when at the end of a long season, Commissioner Paul Tagliabue comes in to present the Vince Lombardi Trophy. We welcome now up here on the stand with us Candy DiBartolo, the wife of the owner, his sister Denise, the winning coach George Seifert, the president over here on my left, Carmen Policy, and of course Eddie. Commissioner, the stand is yours.
Eddie and Denise, Carmen, George, in this 75th anniversary season of the league, we have relived many of the memorable performances of the greatest teams in the history of the National Football League. Today, the 49ers secured their place in those history books with a memorable performance. You become the first team to win 5 Super Bowls. Your extraordinary players, led by Steve Young and Jerry Rice, secure their own place in the history books and the record books for the league and its millions and millions of fans throughout the world. We congratulate you and give you the Lombardi Trophy. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, guys. First of all, we want to congratulate the San Diego Chargers for playing a great game and for having a great year. Guys, you're all warriors. The coaching staff, Carmen, my family, George, the players. I don't have to say anything to you guys. You know. To my sister Denise, this is a very, very important victory. This one is for Dad. Thank you. I love you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, and Eddie, I want you to stand by because we have a call from the President of the United States. President Clinton's on the line and would like to speak with you right now.
Eddie, can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. President, I can.
It's nice to hear your voice. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, sir.
I want to say to you and to George and Carmen and to all your wonderful players, it was the whole season was thrilling for all of us. And I think the best thing I can say about the 49ers is I haven't met a single fan anywhere in America who resents all the success you've had. And that's a rare thing. And it's a real tribute to you, to the coach, and to the players, and the way you've won and the way you've conducted yourself. And we're all happy and proud of you tonight.
Well, Mr. President, I can't thank you enough for taking the time, and I know from a very busy schedule. And we're all your backers, and I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you. Congratulations to all of you.
Thank you very much.
I like seeing George without his glasses. He looks good.
Coach, George Seifert now. And, George, that was just a spectacular performance from beginning to end.
Well, it was a wonderful job, certainly, by the coaching staff and all the players. And I'm so very happy for Eddie and his family, and certainly for all the players that don't have Super Bowl rings. This was something that was real special for us. We wanted to come here and make history, and to be part of that is pretty exciting.
George, it was easy. When you look back on it and you break down, you're going to say, oh, baby.
Well, I don't know if they're all that easy. I think, San Diego did a wonderful job this season. I think our football team certainly did too. This started a long time ago. It started months and months ago. Carmen and Eddie got together and the entire organization, and everybody just picked up the ball and run with it.
All right. Thank you very much, George. And congratulations on a job well done. As you can see up here, having joined us is the most valuable player. And when we come back, we are going to hear from the man who threw 6 touchdown passes and is the MVP of Super Bowl 29. A tremendous moment for Steve Young when we continue.
The Super Bowl 29 postgame is brought to you by the new Ford Explorer, far and away.
Good song.
Great song.
You can make mountains ring. Oh, make
No.
Welcome to the big game, and today's favorite takes the field. Leading the league in carries. Unbelievable. I'll say it again. You just can't win without a strong defense. Man, I'm here to tell you, impressive running game out there. The new Ford Explorer, far and away the best the world has to offer. Look at that. Perfect field position.
It's the event you've waited for. The Prize Patrol is live in Phoenix, Arizona, where moments ago we surprised Marianne Brandt.
Marianne?
Yes.
Could you come here, please?
Yeah.
Marianne, you've just won $10 million from Publishers Clearinghouse. All of America's watching. What have you got to say?
$10 million.
Yeah. It's the...
Jeez, I had 70.
There's only one way I know how to drive. Straight.
If you've been drinking, pick someone else to do the driving. A message from Budweiser.
Hey, is Extreme on yet?
Nah, just the Super Bowl. Wake me up when Extreme is on.
The winter heats up next after the postgame show with Extreme on ABC.
Thursday, imagine the real Rambo, really ticked off at our government. How mad is he? He's got followers on a mountaintop preparing for just about anything. Prepare yourself for Bo Greitz. Day 1, Thursday.
Live from Super Bowl 29, this is the Ford Explorer postgame report.
Well, Steve Young, the most valuable player of this Super Bowl. I can't remember ever being around someone hugging the trophy with more feeling than you are right now, Steve.
Brent, I can't describe the feeling. That's why football is the ultimate team game, is because you do it with 47, 50 other guys, and the commitment it takes, it's unbelievable. And when you get there, you share it with all those guys. There's an emotional, it's like geometric 50 times 50, the emotion that you feel. And there was a commitment made by everybody on this team. Mr. DeBartolo had a tough season this year with his father dying. We committed to that. We committed to each other. There's a lot of people that are writing our organization off, and a lot of us as players. And I'm
Steve, you stay right here, because I want to bring in Jerry Rice, who said to you a moment ago, this is something you will never forget. And a lot of us will never forget you coming out, having heard rumors that you were sick last night, you might not play at all, and you got an early, quick touchdown. Jerry, first of all, tell us about your physical condition and how you felt. You took a tough blow from Darian Gordon in the game, too.
Yeah, I had a bruised shoulder, and I was not 100%, but I just kept going out there with the attitude that I would make some plays. And the guys, they had confidence in me, and Steve kept throwing the ball my way, and we made the plays, and I'm happy for everybody in here, the young guys, the older guys, and, this is something you'll never forget.
Steve, let's take a look at the first touchdown pass. It seemed to set the mood for the night.
Really did.
Tell us about this play.
Well, we'd set it up. We hadn't shown San Diego. We played them twice before, and it was a play that we'd set up the first 2 games. Jerry made a great move and got open down the middle and really set the tone for the day. And I have to give Jerry so much credit. I mean, he had to go in and take all kinds of shots to block his shoulder. He separated it, continued to play. And, Jerry Rice with one arm is better than everyone in the league with 2 arms.
Well, Jerry Rice, here you are with the one arm, and this is the record breaker. Talk to us.
Well, on that particular play, I really wanted to work the defensive back, and Steve put the ball in an ideal position. He really gunned that one, so I could tell he was really fired up, and somehow I made the catch, and everything else is history.
Jerry, some of the folks didn't have the opportunity to experience the great feeling that this team demonstrated when they came in. There seems to be a great deal of togetherness on this year's 49er team.
Without a doubt, this team is so close right now. It took a while, and I think we started gelling at the right time, and now we go out with the attitude that we're going to play together as a collective group, and we win football games.
Now, was the shoulder separated completely, or was it just bruised when you took that hit?
Well, they told me it was a slight separation, and it was very difficult for me to get my arm over my head. Somehow when the ball, when Steve threw the ball in the air, I made the effort, got my hands over my head, and made the catch.
Just a great job by the San Francisco 49ers. Right now, let's go upstairs now to Al, Dan, and Frank. Gentlemen.
Final thought, Al, mine is with Steve Young. I watched him play in high school in Greenwich. I watched him become a great quarterback, but still not achieve the fame and what he has achieved tonight. He said he had climbed the pinnacle, he had reached the top. I felt a great emotion with him.
Mine is with the 49ers as an organization. It started when Bill Walsh was hired by Eddie DeBartolo in '79. A couple of years to get up to speed. They've kept the system in place. They don't miss a beat. Other teams rebuild and retool and go through the peaks and the valleys. The 49ers don't. They have played at the highest level for a decade and a half, and I don't think you can look ahead and say that they're going to fall off the table anytime soon. It's an amazing accomplishment, and DeBartolo, Policy, Walsh, Seifert, and the rest should get all of the credit they deserve.
It really is nothing more than a statement on the fact that we have known all season long, that the 49ers and the Cowboys were on a level all by themselves, and now the rest of the National Football League is still trying to play catch-up. All right, right now let's go back downstairs, and Lynn Swan has Bobby Ross.
Dan, thank you very much. Coach, let's talk a little bit about the ball game. Give us your thoughts and your views at this moment, please.
Well, I think San Francisco is a great football team. I said all along they were, Lynn, and for us to, stay in the football game, we had to play well. I don't want to take anything away from San Francisco because I think they're a great football team, but we played poorly. We just didn't play well. We were never in sync defensively the whole ball game from, I think, the third play on when our safety got way out of position on a simple little post pattern, and it was downhill from there. Offensively, we felt like we could move the ball, but we're not a football team that likes to get into a situation where we got to throw every play. We like to try to keep the run in it, and when we got behind and weren't able to do that, that hurt us. Another probably a play that we should not have gone for it deep in our own territory when I did, but I felt like we could make it, and seemed like we had a little momentum there. We might have a chance at it, but I think the biggest thing is that the 49ers are a hell of a football team.
What do you think led to this kind of performance by your team, and what does this mean as you have to then regroup, look at this game, and look at next year?
Well, the thing that did disappoint me was that we just didn't play certain things well. And I don't know, it was whether we were awestruck or what. I mean, right from the opening kickoff with a face mask on a penalty, and then we had another 15-yard penalty, which was a good call. It wasn't a poor call or anything of that nature. They put us in poor field position. Maybe some of it was youthfulness, over-eagerness. Maybe we were a little surprised by the quickness of the 49ers. We should not have been. We played them twice. But nevertheless, their efficiency and their execution is something that's very, very special.
Coach, I know it's hard for you to come up here and talk after this defeat. We thank you very much for your time.
Good, man.
All right, let's go back over to Brent Musburger.
All right, Lynn, again, it was 49-26 San Francisco. We come back we're going to hear from the first man in history to play on 3 straight Super Bowl winners. But flying 1,000 feet above Joe Robbie Stadium this evening is the Bud One airship, the aerial ambassador of the King of Beers. And a word from our ABC stations.
29, this is the Ford Explorer postgame report.
Coming up next, you'll meet a whole new group who will make this the hottest winter ever. It's the special preview of Extreme. New on ABC, starting right after our postgame coverage next. This, without a doubt, was the hottest team tonight. Ricky Jackson here on my left, and this young man, Ken Norton, first man in history to play on 3 consecutive Super Bowl winners. Tell me the difference between the 2 with Dallas and the 1 here tonight with San Francisco.
I tell you, each year it gets better and better. You kind of think that after 3 years it gets kind of old hat, but it doesn't. I tell you, Dallas was fantastic for me. It was time for me to change, come out here and help this team, a very hungry team, get to the podium, get to the top of the hill and look down on everybody else. And I come up here 14 years, my buddy over here. Everybody's talking about my 3rd, but 14 years, he gets his 1st. And I tell you, it's more special for me to see him get his 1st after 14 years.
Yeah, that's got to be a great feeling for you, Ricky, coming over here as a free agent and winning a Super Bowl.
It was a great feeling for me. I mean, my whole career, I mean, just summing up. I mean, I done had 14 great years, and to get lucky and get on a team like this with how such a great offense. I mean, all they needed was a couple of defensive players, and I know that they could beat Dallas and go to the Super Bowl. That was the easy decision for me.
Pretty easy. When Steve Young and the offense got you the early touchdowns tonight, you could really tee off on them.
Yeah, we knew coming in, Natron Means wanted to run downhill. We knew that they want to say, let's control the ball. Their best defense was a good offense. They learned early on they couldn't do that. They had to start running trickery plays, screens, and things like that. They got down all those points, and they had to come out of the game plan, and we took over from there.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
The San Francisco 49ers have won a record 5th Super Bowl here tonight. And at the controls of the Goodyear Blimp Stars and Stripes today has been Captain Larry Chambers. Larry, thanks for the great coverage up above Joe Robbie Stadium tonight here in Miami. Oh, on Good Morning America, Super Bowl heroes, key players from tonight's game. Also tomorrow, a look at the winners from the Battle of the Super Bowl commercials. Plus Whoopi Goldberg on tomorrow's Good Morning America right here on ABC. Well, it was 49-26, and it probably wasn't that close. The 49ers, with a quick 14-point burst, blew away the San Diego Chargers. And now, for 11 straight years, the NFC has proven its dominance in a Super Bowl. And again, we have seen a Super Bowl blow wide open. This time, it was the 49ers. They have now done it for a record 5th time. The MVP was Steve Young, the first man to throw 6 touchdown passes in any Super Bowl. He had a lot of help. Jerry Rice was again magnificent, and the defense did the rest. If this had been a fight, ladies and gentlemen, they'd have stopped it real early here tonight. So long, everybody.
Yeah, a lot of plays they did today, different formations, variations, and really confused the San Diego Chargers. The first play, the touchdown to Ricky Waters down the middle, you don't see that too often. Most teams send their tight end down against that 2-deep coverage. Here you'll see Steve Young making the fake. Ricky Waters wide open down the field, makes a good catch. And like I said, most teams are used to seeing a tight end do that. So the 49ers, one of the few teams, can send it back down the middle.
I think everybody got caught up in the fact that the Chargers had 2 weeks to prepare for this Niners offense, but the Chargers didn't have as much time, I think, as they needed to. The Niners also prepared for the Chargers defense. They sent Brent Jones out as a wideout.
Well, that was another good change up the 49ers did today. You saw him line up Brent Jones wide out, outside of Jerry Rice. The Chargers did not adjust well to it. Steve Young, when he drops back, he sees the tight end on a linebacker. It's a red light. He throws it to him for the easy completion.
And I think that when you look at the different weapons that they had, Ricky Waters turned in a great game. He had 3 touchdowns. And Chris Myers standing by with Ricky Waters with his post-game reaction. Chris?
Congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thank
All right,
you.
tell us about how this feels.
It's kind of crazy because I don't know how to feel right now. You know, it's like we worked so hard and then it's like, okay, we finally did it. Now what? It's almost like it's supposed to be something else. but I'm sure it'll sink in maybe a couple days or so.
What was it like in the huddle in those first 3 drives? The confidence building? Did you feel like you had it won after those first 3
drives?
Guys
were very confident all week long. I mean, all year long. I mean, we felt good. We knew if we came in and we played our game that we could win the game. You know, we knew they were going to give it their best shot, but we felt like, you know, we could win the game if we just come out and we play the way we played all year, and that's what we did.
Any disappointment about not winning the MVP, even though the 3 touchdowns?
No, I can safely say this and really believe this in the bottom of my heart. I wanted Steve Young to win that MVP. He deserves it more than anybody I've ever seen. In the history of this game, I mean, everything that he's went through, much maligned, all the scrutiny that he went through, you know, throughout his whole career, sitting back Joe Montana in his shadows and everything. I'm a young guy. Hopefully I have another chance at it.
All right, thanks, Ricky.
And he probably will. The offense, we saw their display, but it's easy to lose track of that 49er defense. Chris Myers, after talking to Ricky Waters, talked to defensive back Merton Hanks.
Merton, for ESPN, congratulations, by the way. All right, tell us, the offense gets all the credit, but defensively you did a job on the Chargers.
I tell you what, we shut down people when we had to shut them down, made huge plays in the secondary. They took care of the running game for the most part. They did have a couple of good drives on us. But this is just a testament to putting our faith in God and going out and acting on that faith. And it was just our time. It was just our time.
What was going through your mind watching Steve Young operate on those first 3 drives?
Hey, when the offense is clicking like that, we're just going to do our dead level best defensively to get them the ball back. They're unstoppable. I wouldn't have wanted to play against them, and I know how the offense works.
Well, how would you rate this 49er team with some of the others in the past?
We've got the rank in there. I don't know if we're as good as the 84 or the 80, 89 teams, but we have to be considered as one of the best teams ever assembled.
All right, thanks.
Well, let me have you be the judge. You saw this 49er team. You've seen them down through the years. One of the best teams you've ever seen, maybe offensively, ever?
I don't think there's any question. This is the best team I've ever seen the 49ers have on offense. All those weapons, Mike Shanahan has come in and added a new dimension to that 49er offense. Formation, spreading it out, having Steve Young run the ball, sprint out, throw the ball, and it's really shows in the way they play. It's just there's really no way you can stop them.
And your Super Bowl 29 MVP, Steve Young, everybody talked about really getting out of Joe Montana's shadow. Steve Young, during the week, said all the right things. He didn't criticize Joe Montana. He didn't criticize anybody's questions when they talked about escaping that shadow. A lot of people in the media, though, are happy for Steve Young. A tremendous night, 6 touchdowns. Here's some of his post-game comments.
Well, congratulations. Want to describe this one?
Well, Steve Young. You know, it's about Steve Young. 6 touchdown passes. He had poise. He was cool. He was untouched. And that's the important thing. I'm real happy for Steve Young. He's gone through so much, and this is for him.
When you try to escape a shadow, I mean, it's pretty difficult. You didn't have to worry about that as much with New York. Jeff Hostetler, I think, had to come up with that when he was replacing you in a Super Bowl. But can you understand what Steve Young went through trying to get out of Joe's shadow?
Oh, absolutely. That's the biggest shadow in all football. Joe Montana, arguably the greatest quarterback in all football. So Steve Young, it's been tough for him to overcome it. But when you look at those statistics, as a former quarterback, 6 touchdown passes, it's really obscene. And I think all quarterbacks are sitting around the league tonight. We're all jealous.
Our quarterbacks back at Joe Robbie Stadium, Mark Malone and Ron Jaworski. In fact, Mark doing the international color commentary during this game. They join us now. Guys, take it away.
Oh, thanks, Dan. Josh, you and I were just talking, and I think we were both very surprised at the way the San Diego Chargers opened this game up defensively. We were led to believe that Bill Arnsparger would come up with something different from this offense, and he came out early, ran that soft, 2-deep zone, and the San Francisco 49ers, who script their first 15 plays, were ready for it and went right after it.
I was very much surprised. I thought they would come with a blitz package or a bump and run package, because when they played back in December, that same defense, Steve Young ate it up. He was 25 of 32 back then. Why would he not do the same? And I said last night on our Prime Monday show, if they play that same coverage, they're going to die a slow death. Right there, Jerry Rice gets the clean release. And what you have to do with Jerry Rice is get a jam on him, because when he gets going, you can't stop him. There we've seen the soft coverage. Boy, he hit the middle. Touchdown, Mark.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Phil, you mentioned the fact that they came up with some different formations. We all thought that Brent Jones would be a big factor in this game against that coverage. They line him up out wide, move Jerry Rice around. Now he gets the clean shot off the line of scrimmage and gets into that soft area of the zone much faster than Brent Jones would have.
Absolutely. And Phil alluded to a moment ago that Mike Shanahan has taken this offense to another level. For a number of years, we've seen the weapons, their physical talent. Now we're seeing that physical talent really exposed against the defense with formation variation, motion, and Mike Shanahan deserves a lot of credit for this performance today.
A little later, they come back with the Waters touchdown, and one of the things they did was run the play action. They took the linebackers out of the play so that Steve Young could throw the ball pretty much on a line and get the ball to the receivers in a quick fashion.
Right, on that play, what they do is they run the play fake right at the linebacker, hold him, hit Waters up the middle against that too deep zone, and again, once the linebacker bites that run fake, up the middle, touchdown.
Yeah, it was very surprising to everybody here at the stadium, Dan. Let's take it back to the studio right now.
All right, QBs, thank you. I think when you watch this game, you kept thinking, the Niners, they just seem to plug in the right people at every position. They change faces, but the results stay the same. Their Super Bowl record, 5th Super Bowl. And I have to admit, though, during the game, Phil, who was the MVP of Super Bowl 21, going 22 of 25, was concerned that Steve Young was so sharp that he was going to break your completion record.
And you were rooting for him. You just couldn't believe it. Yeah, you were. We were having a little fun with that, and it was fun. But Steve Young came out. He was so sharp early, you had to wonder, is he ever going to throw any incompletions? But tonight, you saw him do it with his legs, running the football. Two good scrambles that really hurt the Chargers. He hung in there tough with a blitz, hit Jerry Rice on the end cut for the touchdown. And, of course, once again, we saw his magnificent touch on the football, dropping it in there when the coverage was there into the open receiver.
Had to be a strange night for Gary Plummer, kind of running the gamut of emotions. Here's a former San Diego Charger, and he kept saying that he was going to San Francisco and he was going to bring that Super Bowl ring back to show everybody in San Diego. He's standing by with Andrea Kramer. Andrea?
It's clearly the best team you've ever played on, Gary.
There's no doubt about it. Absolutely no doubt about it. To play with guys like Jerry Rice and Deion Sanders, and who could forget Steve Young and the gorilla that came off his back today. It reminds me of a high school football team that just steps on the field knowing they're going to win every single time.
How emotional is this for you to have come so far and to get to this point?
Hey, yes, sir!
The first man.
Oh, yeah, all I want to talk about is your first. They're not like the first one. You can win as many as you want, but the first one is so special. I tell you. How's it feel,
I thank you, man. It feels awesome.
Oh, yeah.
It was also Steve Young's first Super Bowl as a starter. He owned a ring before, but that was as a backup to Joe Montana. Said he didn't need to wear it. He wanted to get one on his own and earn it. Here's some of his post-game comments.
Feels great to win the Super Bowl and to throw 6 touchdowns and to, when you get to the big game, to play what you believe is maybe your best game ever. And you couldn't ask for more. Well, under the circumstances, under what it meant and everything else, it has to be. Because it was the kind of performance under, for the Super Bowl that you have to feel very good about. And so I'll always remember it as probably my best effort. But, I hope there's more to come.
These guys are greedy. They've won 5, but Steve, this is his first one as a starter. Is it the system that's the solution here? Obviously, you have Hall of Famers here, but as a former quarterback, you're watching it probably saying, let me have a chance with that offense.
Well, everybody would like a chance with that offense, and we always wonder, is it the system, the players, or the players of the system? And the 49ers, you watch them tonight, and you have to wonder, is there any way any team can stop them from coming back next year and winning another Super Bowl? And right now, you'd have to say no. It's just going to be hard for any team to match the talent they have.
A reminder that coming up at the top of the hour, it's the big show, SportsCenter in prime time / Chris Berman will be there along with Keith Olbermann, Joe Theismann, Tom Jackson. We have plenty more left on this ESPN Super Bowl special. We'll be back from Miami. Super Bowl 29 is in the books, and it's in the record books. Phil and I return right after this.
Success.
Welcome back to Miami for ESPN's continuing coverage, Super Bowl Sunday night special. Apples or oranges, you still get a fruit full of goods there. You look at Joe's numbers against the Denver Broncos in Super Bowl 24. You look at Steve Young's numbers. Steve with the 6 touchdowns. That is a new Super Bowl record. Both coming out with a victory, which will be the bottom line. We talked about this earlier in the show, though, Phil, is the preparation that the 49ers have. Everybody says, well, they got the talent. They're better than everybody else. But every detail is taken care of, and we saw that on 1 touchdown.
We saw it. That's what makes this system so great, and there's a play in that game that really illustrates the 5-yard touchdown that Steve Young threw to William Floyd. He drops back, gets zoned by the Chargers. William Floyd sits in the middle, catches the ball, scores a touchdown. A couple weeks ago, almost the same play by the Steelers against the Chargers. Barry Foster is drifting back in the end zone. Dennis Gibson is able to react in front, make the play, and that's the reason why the Chargers were here instead of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And I also think that when you look at the guys, the great players, Jerry Rice practices as hard as anybody. Dion practices as hard as anybody. So they're not afraid to work on these small things. And it's very tedious. And you know that you hate going through it, but it pays off in the end.
Everybody says the same thing. When you go to the San Francisco 49ers, one of the amazing things is to watch their practice on offense. Jerry Rice, Ricky Waters, John Taylor, whoever it is who touches that football, they always run 50 or 60 yards for that touchdown. And that's the reason when they catch these short passes in football games, they expect to score.
We've been talking about the 49ers. We can't forget about the other side. Chris Mortensen talking to Sean Lee. Take it away, Mort.
You mentioned crossing routes. It's not like something you're not prepared for, is it?
You're right. I mean, you know, we watch it on film. We watch them destroy teams time after time. We're throwing the ball and these guys cutting across the middle. I mean, it's hard to defend. I mean, for the cornerbacks to try to get a bump on the guys that are very quick, and then for those guys to react and beat them off the ball, or the linebackers to carry them across the middle. I mean, it's a hard thing to do, and they do it well.
And a couple times you had Steve Young trapped early, he made big runs.
Right, he squeezed out of the pocket a couple of times. I mean, you have to expect that with Steve Young. I mean, he's a good quarterback. You can't take anything away from the 49ers. I mean, they talk the talk and walk the walk. So, you know, God bless them.
Thanks. Back to the studio.
Well, during the week, speaking of talking the talk and walking the walk, William Floyd, who probably is much braggadocious as prime time. He said he was going to do it. He did do it. And he's standing by with Chris Myers.
Hey, man, this is great. I mean, I can't ask for anything more than to be a Super Bowl champion. You know, coming off the national championship last year at Florida State, it feels great. I mean, there are no words that I can bring out of anywhere to express the feeling that I have right now.
Describe a little bit what it was like in the huddle with Steve Young and this offense, those first 3 drives, when it looked like you did everything you wanted to do.
Well, I mean, Steve went out and played the game that he needed to play to get all the doubt, all the monkeys, everything else everybody was talking about off his back. He did that. As far as I'm concerned, he's the best quarterback that San Francisco ever saw. I mean, I might be saying a lot because Joe Montana won 4 Super Bowls, and I know a lot of people say that, but I had the opportunity to play with Steve Young, and I know what kind of person he is, and I know how he hurt when people were against him, and it just feels so good for me to be there with him throughout this whole entire thing, and I think everybody, we made history. It was our destiny. I mean, it was the fifth championship in the organization's history. Dion, World Series, Super Bowl, William Floyd, National Championship, Super Bowl. I mean, what could be better? I mean,
the old 49ers teams, I don't want to say old, but not too long ago, you had Roger Craig and you had Tom Rathman, 2 tremendous football players. You replaced those 2 with Ricky Waters and William Floyd, and you don't miss a beat.
Yeah, and that's what they've done all around the field. You know, we got Steve Young in there now for Joe Montana, a guy that's really more versatile with that speed. You saw how it was a big factor tonight. William Floyd at fullback is going to be every bit as good as Tom Rathman, and then Ricky Waters, a double threat, running the football, and we saw how well he can get down the field and catch it. And like we said many times, that's why this 49er offense is almost impossible to stop.
And you have the youthful exuberance that rubs off with the older guys, because you saw a different Jerry Rice, because he got caught up in it. He loved to play. He was a little bit friskier nowadays. And Floyd and Waters, I think, are a big reason for that.
Yeah, they're doing that. And Jerry Rice, he said he wasn't feeling well before the game tonight. My gosh, I'd hate to think what he was going to do if he was feeling good. But I think the personnel that we saw on that team this year with William Floyd, Ricky Waters, and of course, we got to say Deion Sanders did bring another element to the 49er football team that the rest of the league wasn't able to deal with.
All right, from one quarterback, we go to a pair of quarterbacks. Back to the stadium. Mark Malone, Ron Jaworski with more post-game comments. Guys?
Thanks, Dan. You know, Stan Humphries isn't as flashy as Steve Young. He needed some help from some of his teammates tonight. He really didn't get it. Natron means they needed to control the clock. I guess it doesn't matter how long you have it, it's what you do once you have it and put it in the end zone.
Actually, looking at their second and third possession, on the second first down to second possession, a sack puts them in 3rd and 17. You're not going to move the ball with that offense that way. Their third possession, 3rd and 19 with a penalty. You cannot beat a San Francisco football team ending up in 3rd and 17 and 3rd and 19. I believe they got away from running means they had to control the clock. Once you fall behind 21-0, Katie bar the door.
Yeah, I was surprised at some of the play calling. After the sack on 2nd and long, they run means inside, and I think that's the strength of the 49er defense with Stubblefield, Plummer, and Bryant Young. Certainly, the place I thought they had some success and didn't go enough was at Ricky Jackson, a guy who's a pass rusher who probably isn't as strong against a guy like Dwayne Young.
Absolutely. You and I spoke earlier about what we thought would have to be done. And Ricky Jackson was a guy that we felt could be exposed with the 2 tight end formation. They did not expose him in that formation. Consequently, they did not run the ball effectively.
It'll be very interesting to see when you look at the film. Again, the numbers aren't glaringly good for Stan Humphries. He put in a gutty performance. They tried to go long. If Say catches the ball late in the first half on a great touchback by Humphries, they're on the board. They've scored 14 points, and they might be in a different football game.
Well, but Mark, I mean, that was a play that hurt them, but ultimately their game plan had to be one of ball possession, keep the ball away from Steve Young. They did not execute that.
Well, it's interesting. Bobby Ross, I'm sure will take a hard look at this, and you wonder, some teams will suffer emotional scars that might never see them reach the same level. I have a feeling Bobby Ross, and especially with this offense, it's a young offense, will grow from this.
Absolutely. It's of guys that believed in themselves. Hey, they didn't win the ball game today, but Bobby Ross had this team believing they could win.
We talk about the play action. If Means doesn't run the ball particularly well, then they can't play action and look for the big play that everybody said they needed from their wide receivers.
If it's 21 zip, play action not going to fool anybody. They never established a run, and they fell behind.
Yeah. Well, it's all over here. I mean, we can speculate all we want. San Diego put in a gutty performance, but just no match for the 5-time Super Bowl champ San Francisco 49ers. Dan, back to you.
All right, Mark and Ron, you talked about that play at the end of the first half. That's something that Phil and I discussed as it happened. And you're looking at Stan Humphries, who has one of the strongest arms in the game. It's 28-10. And granted, maybe they're just postponing the inevitable, but it could have made it 28-17 with momentum going into halftime.
Well, if you want to make a point, if the Chargers had a chance, it maybe was right before the half when Stan Humphries had that play action pass. He drops back and throws that bomb. But the problem, as we said, sometimes when you have a big arm, you wait too long, you wait till the receiver gets open before you throw it. You don't anticipate. Eric Davis is able to make up the ground and comes up with the interception. And like we said, I don't know if it would really change the game, but at least at halftime we'd have been a little more interested maybe.
Or we'd have another highlight to at least talk about on a positive end for the San Diego Chargers. A reminder that coming up at 11 o'clock Eastern, Chris Berman, Keith Oberman will bring you Primetime / SportsCenter. That's coming up at 11 o'clock Eastern. Phil and I will be back with plenty more on this ESPN Super Bowl Sunday night special right after this. A reminder, a subtle reminder at that. 8 minutes from now, it's SportsCenter, an hour-long SportsCenter as always on Sunday night, our special Super Bowl edition. As we talked about, Jerry Rice, a little under the weather going into Super Bowl 29, but you'd never know it. He's such a great competitor, and he prepares as well as anybody does. And we saw that on a couple of different plays.
Yeah, we saw it on a few plays, and especially late in the game when he caught that quick slant by Steve Young for the touchdown. That's a play the 49ers, it must be the first play they put in every year in training camp, and it must be the first one out of their playbook. You see Steve Young drop back, Jerry Rice quick inside. It's almost unstoppable. I've seen that play since 1979, and I've yet to see a team come up with a defense to stop it.
Well, the 49ers, they won by 23 in Week 15. They win by 23 again tonight. The defense couldn't stop the 49ers, but the San Diego defense, not alone. Leslie O'Neal spoke with Chris Mortensen.
You know, I don't necessarily think that we made that commitment all the way. I think we just went out and played as best we could and get as far as we could, rather than saying that we're going to set some goals early in the year and get there. Got to give them credit. You know, we had a good year, better than a lot of years that I've had here, but it's still a nasty taste in my mouth. You know, you play all year for one game, and this is a game, and, you know, we got blown out in it.
All right, thanks, Leslie.
How long does this loss stay with somebody? Because they didn't expect to get here, so anything else, I guess, was a benefit. But once you get here, you want to win. How do you rebound from this?
Well, I think the San Diego Chargers looked at this season. They thought next year would be their year to get the Super Bowl, so they're a year early. So they were happy about that. But now I think they're under no illusions. After playing the 49ers twice, getting to beat the way they did, they know they got to get better players, and they got to play a lot better football if they expect to compete with a team like that in the Super Bowl.
Reminder, SportsCenter coming up at the top of the hour. Phil and I back with some final thoughts on this ESPN Super Bowl Sunday night special right after this. Super Bowl Sunday night special. Phil Simms is getting all the airtime. Our other quarterbacks want more. For some final comments, we go back to Joe Robbie Stadium. Here's Jaws and Mark Malone, guys.
The marquee names, Dan, the marquee names.
Hey, I thought Joe Theismann got all the airtime. Wait a minute. Good job, Phil.
When you look at this game, Jaws, I don't know that we could say San Diego could honestly compete with the likes of San Francisco and the talent they have. What was ultimately the difference in this ball game as far as you're concerned?
How about this one, pulling one out of the closet? Eddie DeBartolo and Carmen Policy. They played within the same rules that the other 27 teams played with, you know, the salary cap and the free agent rules and all that, yet they were able to put this quality football team on the field and win a Super Bowl. I think they have set the blueprint for how teams are going to operate now in the NFL.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. They did that in order to beat Dallas. They were able to win another Super Bowl. I think also Bobby Beathard has only 2 players from the existing team he took over, a young ball club, and he will be innovative as well in the upcoming free agent market and in the draft. They will be back here, in my opinion, very, very soon. That's our final thoughts from here. I know Phil is foaming at the mouth to get some more airtime, Dan.
All right, guys, thank you. We'll get Phil's final comment. Oh, it's worth the wait right after this. And a reminder, SportsCenter coming up minutes from now. Chris Berman and Keith Olbermann bring you Primetime / SportsCenter. It's the special Super Bowl edition at 11 Eastern. As ESPN Super Bowl coverage continues, along with Phil Simms, I'm Dan Patrick. The forgotten souls in this 49er team. You're foaming at the mouth. You can't wait.
Yeah.
The forgotten souls, the offensive line.
The offensive line. Let's look at the last 2 games the 49ers won against the Dallas Cowboys and the San Diego Chargers. The strength of both of those defenses is their pass rush. Both of them were basically shut out. That's why this 49er offense has a chance to do what it does.
Well, speaking of the offense, you got Mike Shanahan, their offensive coordinator. John Elway, earlier this week with Chris Myers on Up Close, said, I want Mike Shanahan as my head coach in Denver. Is he going, and what will that do with the Niners?
Well, all quarterbacks around the league want Mike Shanahan as their offensive coordinator and their head coach right now. And it'll be interesting to see where he goes and if he's able to get players and construct this same type of offense he did with the 49ers. And you know what? I believe he can, because I believe in what he's done out there, how he's taken that offense and built upon it and made it something that's maybe the best of all time.
Did you answer my question? Is he going to Denver?
I would think so. I don't know if he is, but I would think so.
It's been great. Phil?
Thank you, Dan.
A reminder, SportsCenter coming up seconds from now. For Phil, I'm Dan. Thanks for joining us. Good night.
Next on SportsCenter, it could have been worse. It could have been Buffalo. Super Bowl 29. Who says the Chargers weren't bringing any fight to the table? All the news from Miami. Who ordered this fog? Also, Scotty's back and no UFOs, unidentified furniture objects. The other Scotty tries to reenact in Arkansas. We'll have more Drew Barry, or is that Drew Barrymore? And Mark Tenorti says hello to Jaromir Jagr. That'll be 2 minutes for Speary. Rule 1, if you don't play in the Super Bowl, you have to be the Super Sunday conversation.
That particular game might have been me and Michael's last game together.
But now, all the super news, all the superstars, all the super entertainment and fuego, all the, hey, evidently they fired Ebert. Everything you ever wanted to know about the Super Bowl. Good Lord, they've blown up Kathy Lee. SportsCenter is next. Hello and welcome to The Big Show, electronically alongside our tag team colleagues at Super Bowl 29. I'm Keith Olbermann. On this edition of SportsCenter, Scotty Thurman trying to reenact history in Arkansas, the hockey, the skinny on the skins. But first, it's over. It's all over in Miami. Yes, the pregame show is finally ended. It's not an adjective. It's a brand name. Heading our Team ESPN coverage, Joe Theismann, Tom Jackson, and Chris Berman. Boomer?
All right, Keith, thank you. We are down in the dark of South Florida as we continue to look back at Super Bowl 29. Certainly the 49ers were not in the dark. It was the Chargers that were. As we welcome you back to our home away from home this week on the SportsCenter at the Biscayne Bay Marriott here in Miami. Hello once again, everybody. I'm Chris Berman, and along with Tom Jackson and Joe Theismann. It's amazing. You know, we do like 18 shows leading into the game, and then we have one after the game. But we need about 18, I think, to figure out everything the 49ers did. Yes. All right, we got plenty to show you here. I'm glad you could join us here on Sports. You know, we're in the stadium at Joe Robbie Stadium about an hour and a half before the game, and a lot of the 49ers came out, and just by happenstance, the song who was playing on the PA was Old Days by Chicago. Good times I remember. San Francisco 49ers hadn't been to a Super Bowl in 5 years. A lot of the veteran players said it seemed like 8, 9, or 10 since they had been back. They were savoring the moment. The San Diego Chargers not only had the burden of carrying 10 straight losses for the AFC on their shoulders, but the burden of being a first-time Super Bowl team playing against a team that had gone 4 for 4. Would the burden be too much? Here we go at twilight time at Joe Robbie Stadium. And the Chargers try to get ready early in the pregame warm-ups. Sean Lee dusts Eric sleeping with Bieniemy, who dusts Lee back. Well, the Niners decided to wait till they started the game. Steve Young, could he emerge from the shadows? I think so. Second play of the opening drive of the game, Young to John Taylor for 12 yards. Taylor, the hero at this stadium 6 years ago, Super Bowl 23, one of the heroes. Next play, Young, Jerry Rice, 40 yards, 44 yards, touchdown. And the Niners lead one drive, 7-0, Joe.
Jerry just gives a little outside shake to the sheriff, Stanley Richards, and he winds up inside. Very bad coverage by the Chargers.
Chargers first possession now at their own 24-yard line, 3rd and 1. The play action to Natron means business. Humphreys overthrows Sean Jefferson. Actually had the room on Dion, but San Diego has to punt. You know what that means? Trouble. Steve Young scrambling away, Tom.
Yeah, the one guy you cannot account for in the defense, the quarterback, and Steve Young, a great one at running the football.
So that 19 yards. Now Young down the middle of Ricky Waters. Breaks one tackle. Breaks another tackle. Look at him go. He can't go all the way. 51 yards. 2 drives. 14-0 San Francisco.
Well, we realized that the 49ers are going to hit some passes down the middle, but then Darren Carrington and Stanley Richards are a horrible job of putting the man on the ground, allowing Waters into the end zone.
Thought the guy that played best for 4 quarters for San Diego was Ronnie Harmon. Harmon takes the pass from Stan Humphries for 17 yards, and the Gunny Chargers down 14-0, mount a drive of their own. Natron means business down to the 10-yard line. Then Dion meant some business, but holding, and no question here in the end zone, puts the ball on the one. Next play means touchdown. And the 49ers lead is paired to 14-7. The crowd came alive. They're rooting for a close game. Late in the first quarter, the 49ers run the reverse to Jerry Rice. Oh, he can do it on the ground, too. 10 yards before he's nailed by Darian Gordon. That one had to hurt, Joe.
It really does. Gordon comes up and nails Jerry Rice. Now, it turns out he had a slight separated left shoulder, went out, but came back.
Yeah, he had to leave for one series. Fittingly, that was the only 3-and-out series for the 49ers. Young can't find anybody again. Yeah, 15 yards.
Again, we see Chris Mims, the end, caught inside on a play coming outside.
Well, let's see who hasn't scored a touchdown yet. What about the rookie, William Floyd? 5-yard touchdown. Young to Floyd early second quarter. 21-7 49ers. Junior Seau's face told it all. Look at Bardos pick up Seau on the blitz. Makes the block. Waters with the 8-yard touchdown. 28-7. The route is on. 4 first-half touchdown passes for Young. 28-10. Chargers get the ball first in the second half. First possession is 3rd and 2 from their own 18. Humphreys. Pass is dropped by Tony Martin. He didn't get help there. And Bobby Ross says, well, defense is going to be up to you. But against the 49ers, no matter what defense you had, at least on this day, Ricky running. Waters runs in for 9 yards. Heaven forbid, a rushing touchdown. 35-10. Chargers go for it on 4th and 7. Humphreys pass knocked down by Eric Davis. Natron is upset at the offense. The Chargers just frustrated as Steve Young to Jerry Rice over the middle. It's 42-10. On the ensuing kickoff, the Chargers special teams, they figured they had an advantage here for 3 quarters, really outplayed, I must add, by the 49ers. But then Andre Coleman, black Adam Gow, goes in between one man, gets past the kicker, Doug Bryant, gets past Toys in the attic, Cook. He could go all the way for the Chargers, adding the 2-point conversion, 42-18, a little bit of hope, but not much, when Young to Jerry Rice, and what a grab, Joe.
What a grab, but remember, he hurt his left shoulder. He had to raise his hand above to make that catch. Unbelievable reception.
6 touchdown passes for Young, then Dion picks off. Gail Gilbert came in the game for a few plays, and Humphreys was starting. Look, oh, but Ronnie Harmon told you he played the full game. Dion says, look at the scoreboard. Don't be yelling at me. Then Dion says, wait a minute, William Floyd, you stand over here because Dion has never run a play on offense with the 49ers. And actually, he's out in front, and he could have made the play, Joe.
Well, you know, it's interesting, Boo. He would have loved to have had this one if Steve Young had put it outside a little bit, or Dion may have been more comfortable. Look at George Seifert. He gets a shower in his new jacket.
Well, new jacket, who cares? Eddie DeBartolo and Steve Young. This picture tells it all. The ghost is exercised. 6 touchdown passes, a Super Bowl record. The San Francisco 49ers become the first franchise to win 1 for the thumb. 5 Super Bowls. They do it in a 14-year span. More on that later. 49ers, 49. Isn't that fitting? And the Chargers, 28. After the game, the stars, Mr. Young, Mr. Rice, elated.
Bad man right there. It's a bad man. I can safely say this and really believe this in the bottom of my heart. I wanted Steve Young to win an MVP. He deserves it more than anybody I've ever seen. In the history of this game, I mean, everything that he's went through, much maligned, all the scrutiny that he went through, you know, throughout his whole career.
Is this clearly the best team you've ever played on, Garen?
There's no doubt about it. Absolutely no doubt about it. To play with guys like Jerry Rice and Deion Sanders, and who could forget Steve Young and the gorilla that came off his back today? It reminds me of a high school football team that just steps on the field knowing they're going to win every single time.
You know, it's just a spectacular feeling to fight. There were many days back a few years ago when I'd get to work and I'd almost want to turn around because it was so difficult. Honestly, it was for one person to face the kind of scrutiny and skepticism and tough times. Very difficult. I look back on that, and it was one of the most precious times in my life that I could fight through that and stand here today.
Steve went out and played the game that he needed to play to get all the doubt, all the monkeys, everything else everybody was talking about off his back. He did that. As far as I'm concerned, he's the best quarterback that San Francisco ever saw. I mean, I might be saying a lot because Joe Montana won 4 Super Bowls, and I know a lot of people say that, but I had the opportunity to play with Steve Young, and I know what kind of person he is, and I know how he hurt when people were against him, and it just feels so good for me to be there with him throughout this whole entire thing, and I think everybody, we made history. It was our destiny.
The 49ers now a perfect 5-0 in Super Bowls. They've thrown for almost 1,500 yards, 49er quarterbacks, Montana, Young, and a couple of mop-ups. 17 touchdown passes, no interceptions. So 49-26. The 49ers are champions, and what an evening they will have. What a flight home they will have. And you know what? At one point of the game, Steve Young had 4 touchdown passes and just 4 incompletions. The route was on early, and he had a feeling as soon as that first drive happened, Tommy, that your Broncos might have gotten out of the record books, right?
Yeah, well, we can't exercise all the records that the Broncos have, those negative records in the Super Bowl, but we can get one out of there. That's touchdown passes against. Previous record was 5. Now it's 6. We'll take care of the rest of those next year, Joe.
Well, you know, it's,
one at a time.
Well, it's really great that you managed to get a record out. I still haven't gotten mine out yet. My problem is I'm still the last quarterback that quarterbacked an NFC team to lose to the AFC. 11 years. 11 long years.
Joe, while you're down, can I give you another one that you haven't heard yet? You know that 1983 team that you had that scored 541 points? That's the record.
Yeah.
But then through the playoffs, you did pretty well until the last game.
Yeah.
This team has scored 636 points all told, so they scored more than your 83 team. So that team is now out of the record books of these 1994 San Francisco 49ers. Hey, you know, there were, Joe, they lined Waters out wide right. Sorry. They lined Jones out wide right. I thought Harris Barton was going to line out wide